We're going to talk a little baseball now with Seth Everett, NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen at NBCSportsRadio.com. Download the NBC Sports Radio mobile app today. We missed you last week. I know Josh was in for me, Seth, but hey, we're getting ready to get to the All-Star break here, and we got the Phillies in first place. I want to ask you about the Phillies and the Braves and kind of compare these two teams because they're both kind of surprises, maybe a year ahead of schedule. But when you look at these two teams, do both of them have the look of teams that after the All-Star break have the legs to make it?
You know, it's uncharted territory for both teams. So
right.
I think that it's not fair to say, you know, which team has what it takes to be sustainable. There are more veterans, I think, on the Phillies, and I think there are guys that can really help. Nola's been brilliant for the Phils, and you know, I look at them as a team that is definitely in the mix, and I just think it's going to come down to head-to-head matchups. And then the Nationals are not done. You know, they've played better. I think it's now 5 games, and you know, 5 games with 2.5 months to play is not a ton. You know, it's still too early to count them out. So you might have a 3-team race, and if you're into it, you're going to play both those teams, I think, 6 or 8 more times. That's what it's going to come down to. You know, it's funny, the 2 big pitching names, which are not blockbusters by any stretch, you know, Philly fans must chuckle every time they hear about Cole Hamels and Jay Happ. You know, can we get Cliff Lee back too and make it a triumvirate? It's just funny that it's just funny that you know, these guys are being shopped, and you know, to tell you the truth, the only real blockbuster, and this would be a blockbuster if you did it, is I could see the Giants parting with Madison Bumgarner. That's one name that I've heard, you know, mentioned about quietly, but the price tag is way high. You know, if you're not trading Jacob deGrom, you know, what are we talking about here? And that's why the Manny Machado rumors are hilarious. And you know, just to show you how funny trade rumors are, you're going to see the Orioles today. The Orioles on Monday had a split doubleheader. And so the New York media was there for the split doubleheader. They go for the first game. The first game ended around 4:15, and the second game didn't play till 7 o'clock. Isn't it amazing that was 2 hours and 45 minutes? Someone comes up with a Manny Machado rumor?
We're talking with Seth Everett here from NBC Sports Radio. Major League Baseball All-Star break is on the way. Yes, we have heard that Manny Machado's name has come up, Seth. And if you look at Manny Machado, in this day and age, the way that there's, you know, strikeouts, home runs, and basically nothing else, do you give up a lot to get an offensive player of that magnitude? Did you say, you know what, the way the game is today, you have to have that kind of guy on your team?
Well, you know, the thing about it is, you know, if you look at the teams that are in on him, first of all, he has no value to the Yankees. That makes no sense. The Red Sox, I'd say the same thing. I think those two are just media-driven. Milwaukee, though, he has a huge impact on Milwaukee because it's a big bat in the middle of that lineup. And, you know, if you argue for Milwaukee, the 5 through 9 have been, you know, just a drop-off. So for a starting pitcher to be able to get through the top 6 hitters unscathed, you know, you really have a good chance to get through that lineup. And, you know, to lengthen the lineup like the way Manny Machado can, you know, watch him in the next couple of games. You'll see how much of an impact. I mean, first of all, I don't understand how he gets pitched to in that lineup, but the reality is that, you know, that team, he's the only guy that's really on the quote-unquote trade market that can have that kind of a blockbuster impact.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. We were talking yesterday. Jerry Krasnick at ESPN wrote an article about the guys in the shifts, and one of the guys that he had interviewed for the article basically suggested that, look, these teams are okay giving up first base. I mean, they'll take you bunting down the third base line or just hitting a little rolling single through, which made me think, well, if that's the case, why wouldn't, when Mike Trout walks to the plate or Manny Machado, why wouldn't a team just intentionally walk them? Why give them any chance to swing the bat ever if you're willing to give up first base? It sounds like the game is like almost trying to overthink itself.
No, but they're willing to give up first place knowing that the hitter's not going to take it. So they're not. It's not the risk. The reason why the shift has evolved, and it's a shame that it has, because it's made hitters obsessed with launch angle. But the problem is that, you know, when you have that shift, you're saying, yeah, sure, take first base, but the hitter doesn't want first base.
Exactly.
He wants second base, third base, and the home plate. I mean, so the reality that you get whenever you're dealing with these particular personnel, To me, I would outlaw the shift. I would love to see what these hitters do with that. I would take the shift away. I would make an imaginary line from the point of home plate to straightaway center field. Before the pitch is thrown, the first baseman, the second baseman, the right fielder can't cross it. The third baseman, the shortstop, and the left fielder can't cross it. The only players that can play on both sides of the line, the catcher, the pitcher, and the center fielder. And if you did that, you'd see some of these 230 averages go to 250. There's your missing hits.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's a lot of lefties, right? I mean, you got Bryce Harper hitting 10?
Right, but Bryce Harper's lining out to a guy in short right field because he's hitting the tar out of the baseball, but it's right at somebody. And what entertainment value does that bring?
Yeah. Well,
outlaw the shift. If you outlaw all I would say is try it for a month. Try it for a month. You'd see the hits explode, and it would change the game. Now, some of these hitters would still obsess about launch angle, but the argument to teach launch angle, like if I said to you, Team X is teaching launch angle over contact, and you say, but that's not good for baseball. Like, why would you do that? And the response is, well, if you're going to tell me that every time this guy gets a hold of one, it's at somebody, I have to find some way to beat that. Mm-hmm. And so the argument, to me, you could outlaw the shift and you give baseball a fighting chance. And I don't understand what the hesitation is. And, for people who say they're purists, all I say is watch the fact that there are 512 more strikeouts than hits. And you just tell me, for all the baseball purists, tell me, this is better?
No, I don't think it is better. What was it, the number? 49% balls that are in play? And the attendance. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday as well. I mean, the Phillies are
6.5%. That's a 15-year low.
You know the Phillies well. They're in first place. The place is half empty. Will the Phillies fans start showing up with this team?
Well, the one thing that baseball sells better than anybody to me is drama.
Right.
Right? And if there's a big series against the Braves, and it's for all the marbles. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but that if I'm compelled to go,
last three games of the year are at home against Atlanta.
Well, that could mean all the marbles. I mean, then you have something there, and I think there'd be a lot of bandwagon jumper. I think that it's not a question of Philadelphia as a sports town. It's all over the league. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's all over everywhere, and you're seeing these empty ballparks and. Unfortunately, you have 5 teams on pace to lose 100 games, could be 6, and the record is 4. And so you have all these teams, and let's call a spade. There are 10 teams in the American League and 6 teams in the National League that have nothing left to play for.
I know you got to run, but real quick,
that's 16 teams, and you're in July.
I know you got to run, but real quick, is it a bad product or bad marketing?
It's a bad product.
Seth Everett, NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network. Listen at NBCSportsRadio.com. Thanks, pal.
Well, let me quantify that though, because the NBA has a bad product, but they're doing a brilliant job of marketing.
Well, exactly. Somebody yesterday we were talking and said if their first move as commissioner will be to wipe out the marketing department.
No. For the NBA, it's simple. Because what the NBA has created is a Kardashian-like reality series. They make it everybody, all the talk shows, the tweets, the social media, the blogs, everything is making these guys characters. This is like watching a soap opera. Mm-hmm. And who's friends with this one, and this one's friends with that one, and this guy wants to play with this one, and he's not happy, and this guy's sad, and this guy's mad. Like all of those things are reality television, and the NBA milks it. But when you talk about the great moments that are from your mind in the NBA, you talk about those types of things. Oh, do you remember when LeBron recruited that guy? That's what's in your head. You don't say it was the third quarter of a Sacramento, Portland game. True.
Well, I know that summer league basketball ratings are better than baseball. That might be an issue.
Of course, and the thing about it is because nobody knows now. If you only had to fix one, you play some audio. Play Mike Trout, who's a New Jersey guy. Play Mike Trout on your show, not next segment, but do it on a random day and just say, "I'll give a T-shirt to the first guy that can recognize who that guy is."
Right. He's Seth
Nobody
Everett.
knows who it is.
I know he's got to run, and I appreciate him staying on for a couple extra minutes here. Thanks, pal.
You got it. I'll get in trouble.
Seth Everett here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. He's from NBC Sports Radio, covers Major League Baseball, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen at NBCSportsRadio.com.